we will be looking at the encode and decode strings problem and build a solution in JavaScript. Before jumping into the solution aspect, let us get an understanding of the problem statement. We will be receiving an input of strings, and these strings have to be encoded on machine 1, then they will be transferred over the network to machine 2, where they will be decoded. That's pretty much it in terms of the problem statement. We have to transfer the encoded data over network and then read the content on machine 2. For this, we will be using the chunked transfer encoding approach, which is common approach when using to transfer data over network protocols. The aim here is that with each data string that we have received, we will be appending a delimiter to differentiate between two strings, and it is going to be self-encoded. What self-encoded means is that whatever string we have, the length of that string we will also append in the outcome of the encoded string that we have. And when we try to decode using this delimiter and knowing the length of each string, we will deconstruct the string back again. We are given an example called as hello world. First, I will put hello, and for this we said we will be using a delimiter, and for that delimiter I will say let's use a value of hash. Along with this, because it is going to be self-encoded, we will also put the length of this string within our encoded string. And to do that, I will just say what is the length of this string that we have. We have hello 1 2 3 4 5. I will put this length in the encoded string itself. Similarly, for the next word that we have, I will say the length is going to be 1 2 3 4 5. I will put the length, I will put a delimiter, and then I will put the content. This indicates that the content is going to now start. So this is going to be world. For this, I will encode it and pass it from my encode function. How that will look is something like this. I will have my encode function where I will say let encoded string be empty, and I will form this encoded string and then just return it in the end. And to form this encoded string, we said that for each string that we have received, we will add two parts. One part is going to be the length, and one part is going to be the delimiter that is going to be used. It can be any delimiter. I am just using hash in this example. To do that, we just say encoded strings plus equals what is the length of the string. The length is just going to be string.length plus whatever delimiter I have selected, and then the actual string content itself. So this completes part 1, wherein I am encoding using this delimiter and the length, which becomes a self-encoded part of the string itself. Next part comes is decoding it on another machine. To do that, we'll be using a pointer called as I. So I will start from the 0th position. We will have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and so on. This is the array index of the character. Let's say my I is at the 0th position. So this is my I. Now what is the aim here? I know that the first two characters which are going to having is going to be the length and the delimiter. I want to first target the delimiter itself, because after the delimiter, the actual content of the string starts. So the aim here is start fetching the actual content of each string. Where is the position of the delimiter going to be? We will just say find the index of this delimiter. I will find the index of this delimiter. I will say the delimiter value which I want is going to be at the position of 1, which is here. So here I find my delimiter, which is position 1. Now I know that immediately after the delimiter, my string is going to start. So if I just add 1 to this position of my delimiter that I have here, I know that the string is going to start, which is going to be from this position. And how that would look is something like this in terms of code. We said we are going to use I, and we are going to have outcome here in terms of decoded strings. So I will say decoded strings is going to be an array, and in the end the aim is going to be that I will be returning the decoded strings. But I said I will start from 0 and then I will go all the way. Going all the way basically means that while my I is less than the length of the encoded string that I have, first find the index of the delimiter. And to find the index of the delimiter, I will just say delimiter index is going to be within my string, just get me the index of my delimiter. Now, how will I know that for the first string I want to pick this delimiter, and for the second string I want to put this delimiter, and not the same delimiter index every time? That is going to be determined by my position of I. This I will increment every time a word has been processed, and it will start at the initial index of the second word. That's why we will say get the index of the delimiter from the I position onwards. After we get this position, which is basically this position, now I want to know what is the length of my string going to be. The length of my string is basically the value here, and that value I can fetch by using a substring function between this and this point. And if I just say let the length be s dot substring from the position I have of I up to my delimiter index, I will get my length. Delimiter index right now is 1, my I is 0. Substring of 0, 1 with 1 being excluded and 0 being included, this position is going to give me the length of 5, which is what I wanted. I get the length and it is in string format right now, so I will just parse the length that I have received, and then I want to extract the actual string now. To extract the actual string, what I want to do, I am at this position of my delimiter. I will just add 1 to it, which indicates the start of the string, which is from this index onwards. And then I want to take the entire length of the string. So the string is supposed to be s dot substring from whatever the delimiter position, just add 1 to it. And to do that, I will just say delimiter plus 1. From this position that I have here, I want to consider the length of the string. Length of the string is being 5. If I go just 5 from here, which is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, that will also add the next string starting index, which is what we want, because the substring is going to be exclusive of the last index, should be 7, so that we pick up whatever is there from 2 until the 6th position, because it's going to skip the 7th position. And to do that, we will just say whatever position of delimiter index you have, you added 1 to it. So to this position you added 1, you started here, and then to this you add the length, and the length is then added, which basically gives you up to this position for the end of the string. And this being excluded, you will just get substring from the 2nd position up to the 6th position that you have, and whatever string you have received into your decoded strings array. So you will just push it, and then my I is going to change to delimiter index plus 1 plus length, because now what I want to do is I want to start my I at this position to start the whole cycle again. And that's pretty much it in terms of implementation. Now let's explore the time complexity and space complexity involved for the encode and the decode functions. For the encode function, the time complexity involved will be equivalent to big O of n, where n is going to be the length of all the characters in combination of the strings that we have received, because we are going through all the characters and building this appended string here along with addition of this delimiter and the length of the string. So we process all the characters. That's why the time complexity involved is going to be big O of n. And in terms of the space complexity that is going to be involved here, that will be big O of n plus k, where k will be the length of the strings that you have received. Why big of n plus k is because we are going through all the characters and they are getting appended into our final outcome string, which is encoded. But along with that, we are also going through the strings and appending some additional characters, which is going to be the delimiter and the length of the string that is involved here. So that is going to happen k times, and because that happens k times, we can say that the overall space complexity will be big O of n plus k. And k, we can say we ignore and simplify it a bit, and we can just say overall it can be big O of n in terms of the space complexity also. Now in terms of the decode function, the time complexity that is going to be involved here will be equivalent to big O of n. Why big O of n? Because we are going to go through all the characters in the string that we have received. So because we built the string along with the additional delimiter characters, we can ignore that additional component part while we are going in this loop. We could have also said that the time complexity involved is going to be big O of n plus m, where m is going to be the length of the encoded string, which is going to be higher than the initial input length because we are adding additional delimiters and the length of the string as well as part of the self-encoded string. But we can just simplify it a bit, and encoded part can be ignored, and we can just say the time complexity is going to be big O of n. In terms of the space complexity that is going to be involved here, that also we can say is going to be big O of n, because the original characters that we have written are getting pushed in our decoded string that is going to occupy some space. Apart from that, we are not doing any additional space occupying because this output is the only thing that is going to take up the space. And that's pretty much it. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe.